There we go. Hey there, Internet. I've been finding the live streaming is a little bit glitchy. So I had to like paste in information and stuff. Okay, so it's up and running. Welcome to another vodcast, Process Pod. We're being roughly weekly now, so I thought it was time for an update, and I'm going to do some late night drawing. I just did an update on my homepage blog that's linked to in the description text. So you can look there and you'll find a link to that and to so I'm just opening the chat now too. Also to Patreon for well, I should update that. You check the pages. This story here on Patreon is actually for the thing I was doing in the last video. Let me fix that. I thought I had fixed that. The pages of Bloom here on Patreon. So Bloom was the project that you see the art for over there. And I've posted 4 pages as a Halloween freebie. You can find them on my Patreon via that link, and you can also find them on Facebook. I posted them there as well, and you can share them around. Feel free. And then just a general like career update on my blog, which for those of you who are regular around here, none of that's going to be super big news. New job, keeping me very busy. I've put my Patreon on pause. Not shutting it down. You could still pledge even. I think you might get charged for the first pledge, but after that I'm halting payments. And so might be a good time to get in. I'll be able to read like 400 comics that I've published there already. My old stuff that comes with even the most basic pledges. And then get updates on my blog about what it's doing. And then when I finally do get it back up and running, or just like back up and running, when I finally do go back to doing that as like my main thing, you'll be the first to get updates, and you'll be able to also help keep it up by paying for the work. If I had like, pie in the sky, in the time that I'm working on F is for Family, if I somehow could get the, I don't know, 300 or so patrons, then when I went back to it, it would be self-sustaining. It would pay me enough that I wouldn't need a day job. Heck, that would be pretty cool. So go do that. So yeah, last week when I posted one of these, I was working on Bloom. And I still will be. It's not quite finished. I have posted those 4 pages as a teaser because it seems seasonal and cool to do. But I also knew that I was getting a little tired of working on that particular project, and kind of the reason I do multiple stories, why I'm doing a personal anthology series, is that I know for me personally, as an artist, I need a little more variety in my diet to stay totally engaged, ideally. What are you doing? Cat's being distracting. So I'm now changing things up. So I'm working on, let me show you, A Bastard's Tale. Bastard Tale is a memoir. That's me. That's me around 6 or 7 years old in the photograph. I'm sitting in the back of my father's pickup with some other kids in the neighborhood on my birthday. These were basically family friends. I think that's possibly Solomon, and I forget the names of these two. Garth, maybe? Is that Garth? They're kids who were friends of. What you doing back there? You hanging out behind me? Yeah. Family friends. And so I'm using this picture of me as reference, of course, because I'm doing Bastard's Tale is a memoir. It's a story about a few things, but a lot of it is focusing on my memories of childhood. Stylistically, you'll notice it's a fair bit different. And I'm doing it in Clip Studio again, but in a style that's inconsistent with the way I've done previous parts of it, which was all analog and very sketchy by design. One of the concepts behind the project was trying to capture the kind of impressionistic feel of memory. Kickstarter I back just finished. Cool. And so I'm trying to maintain that, and as a result of working in pencil tools and in a more sketchy manner that's consistent with the rest of the work that's been done on the project. What are you doing, Leo? You gonna settle down, or you just like decided it's a fun place to play behind my butt on the chair? We got a kitten. My wife has been craving to get a kitten for a while. He's about 4 months old now. It's getting to be a cat, but a half-size cat. And he's full of beans and trouble. The challenging thing with this is to get back into the mode of thinking sketchy. I don't want to get too refined and polished. This comic is designed to feel like pages out of a journal almost. I could do that very literally, like the way Emile Ferris did basically all of her book, My Favorite Things is Monsters, in ballpoint, in lined notepads, which was cool. I dig that. And I've thought about doing that kind of work, but I like, it's maybe a byproduct of being aphantasic. I like the iterative process for finding my way into the work and figuring out what works. So it's possible to do that in a notebooky type of style, but whatever I did, I would probably still have thumbnails. You know, the planning part of the story where you're figuring out how the page is going to work and what's happening and what's important to get across and what isn't. And then a next stage where I then render it. And sometimes that next stage can be very involved. A lot of my comics are more textured and layered and involved. But Bloom was intentionally just black and white line work with Zipatone to keep it simple. And this is sketchbooky, partially to keep it simple, and but also to again evoke the vagaries of memory. And I let the work, or I've been trying to let the work get even more rough and abstract or surreal, even in places where memory is even less clear. Like, I know I could probably find out and look up exactly what car this was, what we were in. My father owned a number of cars. I think this was the old Toyota. But I'm not really interested here in factual accuracy. I'm interested in communicating the nature of the memory, and that includes the inaccuracies. So there's definitely been research I've done. It's not like I'm isolating myself from stuff I've talked. I sort of prepared for this project for years, and so there was a long period of knowing that I wanted to do something and talking to family members about what they remembered of situations and asking relatives questions and looking up a lot of visual reference. I have a collection of my father's negatives, which I was scanning for archival purposes as well, but the personal agenda was also to visually revisit the past, at least his record of it, and that, of course, inspired more informed questions. That was just interesting too. He was a very good photographer. I think so anyway. I'm biased, of course, but just so. You can catch, I posted a lot of, I made a website, the Italian Engine. So I believe if you go into my Linktree link in the description text, there should be, let me check before I say, I think I included that on Linktree. An archive. Okay, so there's a link to my personal website, and from there, I believe, under bio? No, okay. I don't know. Well, anyway, I want to focus on drawing right now. I'll add it to the description text after when this video goes into the long-term archive records. So later viewers will be able to find it. Anyway, again, let's pull that open so you can have the chat in front of you. Where'd the link go? Oh. Oh yeah, I can open it right now. Okay. There we are. TheItalianMachine.spiltink.org. That's my father's archive site, which I am now adding to the description text. My dad's photos, also his poems. You can now watch it there. So yeah, let's go back to here. Close that. Four people watching. Well, hello there, everybody. Thanks for the likes. So back to the drawing. So yeah, after doing the first chunk of the bloom, previously I was calling it the crowning for lessons. I like that name, but it's a little too long-winded. Shorter is always better. Most editing is about shortening things. And I wanted to change a pace, do something different, something sketchier, something a little more nostalgic. Oh, thicker. Thicker. There we go. want to go any higher than that. I don't want to go into there. Now I can just hatch my heart away. When I'm doing this on paper, here's the trick. I use sticky notes. I'll lay them down as a mask so that I can go right over this edge and not worry about crossing the line. Good piece of blank paper will work, but once sticky notes became commonplace, that was clearly an ideal little thing, and you can always tear them up and make little complex contours out of the edges. I talk a lot in my classes about, like, when you're practicing hatching, you want to practice being really regular and smooth and even. In application, you may not want to be that, like right here. I'm definitely not looking to do really nice and polished regular hatching. I want it to be a little sketchbook journal-y feeling. But your ability to modulate that and control it, and like in the case of a comic, it's a bit of an illusion. Like, this is still pretty controlled. It just feels rough. And I'm being a little faster and careless and loose on purpose to maintain that. But that's a choice I get to make, a stylistic variant, because I've got the practice under my belt that lets me understand what I need to do with intent to get that different result. So yeah, I've been using the job, gives me access to a full updated Adobe account. So I have been back at Photoshop a bit lately with all the latest features, and you know, it's good. Got some nice stuff. I find for the props, the wrapping function is unbeatable, and anytime I have to use a font or text to do labels and signs, I absolutely have to switch over to Photoshop, because the text tools in Clip Studio just are really not that great, which is unfortunate considering its uses. It's okay for lettering, but even that, some problems. So, you know, but I have to say, I am in love with Clip Studio Paint for the drawing. It is my favorite drawing app. Unpaid endorsement. Although, hey, Clip Studio guys, you know, if you want to get in on that, let me know. One thing that's new, that's getting me a little bit of trouble, not too bad, but because I have for years now, I've been working on my own. I don't have to call, report in, or stay in touch, or worry about anybody else most of the time. But with the studio job, of course, that's different. So we have a couple meetings a week just to check in on what we're doing. We have meetings for when we start a new show. We go through it with the director over the boards, identify all our bits that we have to do. Meetings, and then we have a Discord that's our virtual office. And so there's notifications there, and I'm using Outlook again for the first time in a couple of decades, because that's the work email. Who designed Outlook? Who be that fool? Oh my god. That UI is not. It's not a good UI. Oh my lord. I do not like the Outlook interface. You know, it's all stuff that I'll figure out as I get used to it, but it's aesthetically not particularly attractive for my Gmail calendar and email any day. And I've been missing stuff because of the way it does things. So weirdly, like, I think if I get this right, if I figured this out, when a meeting is over, it just disappears from your calendar on its own. That's fine. But if a meeting gets canceled and rescheduled, the canceled version stays in your calendar and it says canceled. And this week it fooled me because the new version wasn't visible. So I thought the meeting had just been canceled, period. There was no new meeting, and I missed it. Dope. Jesus. That's not cool. That's a clear design flaw. Let's select this area. What I am looking forward to learning a new software for is once pre-production is mostly wrapped up, I'm supposed to train on Harmony. Toon Boom. No, Harmony. Toon Boom's the storyboarding program, right? Okay. I might actually get a little training on that as well. But I know that I'm specifically supposed to work with Harmony. I won't necessarily be working with it a lot myself, but the department will. So they're gonna train me up on that, and that'll be cool because I know it's like the main app for animation these days, so that'll be good for work. It also looks really powerful. If you go to my blog post, I did the week before I started the job, I got access to the programs, and I did a little self-tutorial to walk through the process of doing some really basic animation with my animation design tests art. And I found it quite easy. Found a really good YouTube explainer that helped explain some key aspects of how the program works, which was useful. I didn't use it very much, but I'd been trained on Flash. So it was nice that the YouTube explainer pointed out the ways in which it was like Flash, but the ways in which it was not. Because that's a key thing to know, is it's not quite the same as Flash. And then actually digging into it on my own, I found it pretty intuitive. You know, it helped that I had that heads up, so I knew what to look for. But I'm looking forward to getting some free time to spend more time with it, figure out how it works. It might have been handy to even be using it at this stage and be doing a lot of my design work directly in it, because that would have probably saved some time. But we had to get going real quick. There wasn't really time to mess with that. So I've actually been doing a lot of my work in Clip Studio. Technically, we're using PSD files, so a lot of it was designed to be used with Photoshop, but I find, again, most of the drawing is much better done in Clip Studio. So it works. I just move back and forth as I need to, but I spend most of my time here in this interface. Studio doesn't seem to mind. They're quite pleased with the results I've been giving, so I think it would be better if I was able to keep track of my my meetings and stuff a bit better. But the actual work, which is important, the important bit, that I seem to be doing okay with. Not getting quite as many like unqualified hurrahs from the director as I was the first 2 weeks. But I did the first couple of weeks. He was very pleased with my work. So hopefully that's true and we're just getting busy and he doesn't feel the need to do that all the time, because I would start getting a little bit like, okay, thanks. I get the message. I don't know, like a lot of people, I'm not great with too much flattery, and part of it is, especially when it comes to work, it always kind of feels a little bit like you're being buttered up for the other shoe. Where's the butt? But I don't think that was the case. I think he was being genuine. They'd had difficulties with my particular department in the previous season, and he was just really happy to have someone who could do what he wanted them to do. So that was good. Always feels good to make your boss happy. Hard to beat that. Feel a little sorry for the person who was doing the job last year, from the sounds of it. They had a rough time. Apparently, it is challenging to find people with a lot of experience these days willing to do the work. Which is a little surprising, but I guess most people are focusing on things like gaming. I definitely noticed that when I was teaching art at Sin Studio. We had a lot of people in gaming and a few people from animation. And I would definitely say the ratio of people who are trying to go into gaming or concept work, not visualization, what's it called? People actually render out the stuff. All that kind of stuff. Far outnumbered the number of people focusing on something like traditional 2D style animation work. It's just fallen out of fashion. And I imagine partially that's because there's less work in it these days. 3D has gotten so big. But good news for me, that lack of interest from young artists means that there was some room for me to slip in as an old dog and get some work and be able to do the job quite handily. The stuff I'm doing for Fist for Family is stylistically a little different, but really close to what I was doing for Wanehead. That was a short-lived kind of Fat Albert-like TV show for starring the voice of Damon Wayans. I think the Wayans brothers generally were writing it, or producing it anyway. And then also, to a degree, some work I did that was mostly concept pre-design work for Manga Latina. That was a local produced Latinx culture series that was going to feature characters living in a Latin, Hispanic, Italian mixed neighborhood in Montreal. I did a lot of concept art for that. Basically the whole design pack for locations and props. Characters were done by, I think it was Yachi. I don't remember his last name right now. He was a local punk artist and musician who started with the project but then wasn't comfortable doing the stuff. He just wanted to do the people, which is fine. We have specialties. I like doing people too, but I've always been flagged as someone who's particularly good at the stuff, at the places and the things when it comes to animation. I think I could do the characters too, but honestly I feel like that particular skill, relatively speaking, in an animation studio is a little easier to come by. Most people focus on the characters when they're in animation, and so they get really good at that. But dialing in the technical skills, the drafting skills you need to do good props and things is a different set of skills. Not everyone gets into it. apparently this is true a little bit. I heard when I was teaching at Sin that's true for concept art and gaming too, that it is easier to find people who want to design characters than it is people who are good at and want to design locations and props. So maybe it's just like a human thing. People focus more and want to pay attention to the peoples. Let's do that on another layer, but I want to select it out. A little quick mask for myself. I probably should do that with, I'll cut the other trees out and put them on their own, on this layer as well. So, no, new layer, almost forgot for a second, this way, under there, and then we'll do slightly wider, yeah. This will be easier to do motion blurs on afterwards. Because I have separated it out. So let's move this to that layer too. One thing I also like about this style, and part of the reason I picked it for my memoir stuff, is that I want the process of making it to also be a little bit like keeping a journal. So much more short, fast, low effort work. And allowing me a lot more expediency and freedom to do it as a thing I fit between other projects. I also, by design, I'm designing, it's, you know, it's a long-term project, but the design is to do them as a series of standalone done in one story. So I've done 2 already that you can find in Revolver Zero, and they were originally published in Revolver 3 and 4, and I've got a number of them written, but they're all meant to be things that I could publish on their own without the others, and you wouldn't be like lost. They're anecdotes and memories of my childhood. And whoops, oh, I'm on the wrong layer. I'm in the window. Wait, let's move that. Let's see, what else did I do on that layer by accident? Just that. Okay, easy enough to fix. Yeah, so let's keep that on its own layer. In fact, it's the exterior of the car. So hopefully the style makes it fairly easy for me to jump in and do an installment when I can. So far, mostly it has. And also I think it serves the narrative purpose that I mentioned. I go into eraser mode for some reason. I did. I don't know why. That's okay. So that right there, that's why you want to learn how to feather good. So you can have nice seamless interfaces. Of course, with these digital tools, it's easy to do what I just did there and blend by mixing eraser and pencil. And getting the lines to do the things, but you have less blending to do when you have a good feather on your line and you can blend them together mechanically. Like that. These are a little rough, but that's okay. I want to get dark up here anyway, so I can now switch to just scribbles as opposed to feathering. Yeah. And in fact, let's put some scribbles there and here as a dark shadow. I can fudge it by feathering the edges. Use the scribbles to get the density. Too regular. Let's make that a bit more. Yeah, that's better. There we go, it's a panel. So let's put a mask in. Name my layers so I can tell what's going on later. Misspelled, but that's fine. So mask is gonna be, let's use that a little better. So first I'm gonna select the window areas that I'm gonna have show through, because that's a little faster. I'm just using the polygon and then using more sample points when I hit a curve to make the curve smoother. Like that. The polygon tool works pretty good. You could use the free lasso, but, and then I want to not have the mask go any lower than this too. So now I'm gonna do that. Oh, wrong tool. I wanted to select, not deselect. There we go. Now select invert and fill. So that's good. I can see my work better too, but I can now also go to this trees and filter. I don't know how much I want to do, but a little bit. Let's do a lot so I can see it. I think what I'm going to do is duplicate. and blur one of them. There we go. That's getting the results I wanted. And the last thing I want to do is, oops, add some more big fat color pencil smears of shading. Oops. Yeah. I like that. So on paper I would be doing this with the side of my lead. Just sort of scumbling. Might use some color erase even, so color pencil, as the brush name suggests. Hi, Skoogie. Another one of my cats is here to say hello. Why aren't you paying attention to me right now? That'll do. Yeah. How long have I been running now, by the way? Almost 43 minutes. That's good. So I'm pretty pleased with the look of this. Here, for some context, let's show you what I'm trying to approximate stylistically. Hello. Oops. I ordered myself a new trackball mouse because the current setup, I'm kind of sick. I used to have one a long time ago, and I'm kind of sick of trying to get by as I have been. So like this page, there's a couple of pages. These are all finished pages for the same story. And that's a pretty similar feel, I think. This one's really rough. I might go ahead and work on it some more, I think, but I kind of like the roughness. This one's got some different moments stylistically. I really like this. That's a somewhat close approximation to the moment I'm doing now, shot-wise. My bedroom as a kid. It was a basement bedroom. This is the first page of the story. The first page of the story, it's got some ink wash and pencil and brush in it. So yeah. I don't know. Those aren't also in complete order, so I like the fact that there'll be a bit of mix-up, but I feel like this is pretty close. You have to be careful not to get too refined or polished. That's the main thing that there's a risk of with the digital work, is to look too digital. But yeah. Alright. Well, it's almost 1 here. probably time for me to log out. Hope you all have been finding some way to prosper in our difficult times. If you're American, get your ass out there and vote. Get that buffoon out of office before he wrecks the economy too much. But at the very least, short term, I appear to have made a bit of a profitable jump to a new line. But I will continue to be doing my weekly process pod updates here and working on my own things. And stick around and catch some of it. Hit the subscribe button and the like and all that stuff. And I'll see you in the comment section and things. Cheers. If you have been watching, thank you very much.